I'm David Braun, the founder and CEO of Capstone Strategic. I started Capstone back in 1995 really with one concept in mind, and that is to help companies to grow, primarily through external means, acquisitions, joint ventures, strategic alliances, minority investments, all the things that are kind of not in the typical sweet spot for companies through organic growth, but really thinking about the external ways in which they can grow their businesses. So the problems that we often find our clients face is one of growth. And I have this saying that I'm very fond of saying called grow or die. You could modify that slightly and say change or die, because I think too often we think of growth just being, revenues and having to get bigger. But in many cases, what we find with a lot of our clients is they've gotten to where they've gotten primarily through organic means. They've developed new products or technologies or locations, or they've added people to help them to grow their business. But they have a desire to get to another level, and they've not really created a way to do that through organic growth. They're kind of tapped out through organic growth. And in many cases, they are very good, strong, solid companies, but they're struggling with how to get to where it is that they want to go next. And so that's often where we come in, is really helping them to develop that plan and then to actually implement that plan for growth for them. The kinds of companies we serve is going to be a wide variety. We work with very small companies, as small as $1 million a year in revenue, to very large Fortune 50 companies. So large and small, public and private, manufacturers and distributors, US as well as European and Asian. So we work with really a wide variety, and our focus isn't so much on the companies in terms of where they're located or their size. It's more about what it is that they want to do, and can we add value to helping them to grow their business. What do I mean by external growth? I think oftentimes, or many times, owners are intimidated by thinking about external growth because they think it means one thing. They think it means I got to go buy someone. And I think they're intimidated because they don't think they either have the resources in terms of people or the resources in terms of dollars. But from my experience, there's probably 8 or 10 different ways that we can be thinking about external growth. All the way from the one hand, getting involved through a handshake, or maybe a strategic alliance, or a joint venture, or a minority investment, or a majority investment, or an outright acquisition. But there's a whole variety of ways in which companies can put together meaningful relationships with other companies that doesn't have to just mean that they go out and make an outright purchase of another business. What is the benefit of making an acquisition or an external relationship if it isn't 100% acquisition? I think one of the key things that is most beneficial about external growth is the precision and the timing. So there's 2 key things there. One is it allows you to be very precise about what is it you want to get into, whether it be technology, locations, capabilities, brand, people, whatever it may be, and now. So you can do it organically, but you may not, it may take you a lot longer, it may cost you a lot more, and you may end up not exactly where you thought you were going to be, or you may end up creating something that was exactly what you thought you were going to need, but the market says no. And so what acquisitions or external growth really allows you to do is, with that precision, be able to, really bring a lot of calibration to your growth. And by the way, the corollary to that is divestiture. So getting in or out of markets, there's really nothing that allows you to do that more surgically than external growth. What is special about Capstone's approach? We are very much focused on helping companies to grow strategically. So what you find typically in the marketplace are consultants who understand a lot about an industry, or you find investment bankers who understand a lot about transactions. But what you don't really find is that common ground where it's really about helping companies understand how to best grow their business. So our particular area of focus is dealing with very strategic, typically not for sale, typically private, or divisions of publicly traded companies. So these are ones that are not typically on the radar screen. They're not ones that have necessarily even been thought about, but they're really about how do we put something together that's really going to help create the vision or implement the vision that a owner of a company has. We like to say it this way: our job is to help our clients implement their dreams. What makes us different is having a process. And we've got a process that is really divided into among 3 stages. The first one is what we call building the foundation. And that's really all about getting it right in terms of what is it that you're really trying to create? What is the vision for the business? If you could paint a picture for 5 or 10 or 15 years out from now, what would that look like? Who are the resources in terms of dollars or people that you have? What is it that's really going to define whether you have success or failure from a growth standpoint? That's all about building the foundation. The second one is what we call building the relationship. And that says, how do we go find these right people or companies to partner with? And how do we create an interest by them to want to become part of our organization? How do we get them to want to become part of our organization? And then the third is about building the deal or the transaction. And that's the one that most people get kind of fixated on, because that's the letter of intent and the valuation and putting together the contract. But frankly, the first 2 are really paramount to getting the last part right. And so all 3 phases we find are really critical. Most people don't focus enough, in particular, on the first phase. In terms of industry focus, over the years, people have always pushed me to, pick 5 industries that we're going to be an expert on, because that's what everybody does. They pick 5 industries to be an expert on. And I've always pushed back, because I said, you know what, that's not really what we do. That's not my passion for how we go about doing business. Our clients are experts at their industry. They know far more about it than I ever will. And that's not why they're hiring us. What they're hiring us to do is to help them take what they've built and get it somewhere where they want to take it. And what I think is particularly important for us is that we want to bring something different to the table. And so we purposefully focus in on being very dispersed in the kinds of industries that we work with. We work in manufacturing, we work in distribution, we work in financial services, chemicals, food, US, European, Asian, lots of different kinds of industries, different types of companies. And the common thread in all of those is that all of these companies want to grow. And so the things that we learn from each of these different scenarios, whether it be a manufacturing company or a distributor, help us to bring a better set of tools to our clients rather than us just being experts at their industry. They know their industry. We know how to help them to grow what they've already built. Our team is comprised of what I like to call thinkers. We bring a wide variety of people to the table. We're not just about having a group of MBAs. We want people that are good critical thinkers. On our projects, typically we have 4 or 5 people that work on them. And the idea there is that we want people to be very dynamic in their thinking, so it isn't just linear thinking. And we want people that can really ask hard questions to help us get to better outcomes and better solutions for our clients. So our teams are very robust and very diverse in background. I've written a book called Successful Acquisitions, and I wrote my book because what I saw in the marketplace were really 2 kinds of books when you think about growth, or in particular M&A. One was very much on the legal part of it, and these would be very thick books that talk to you about all the legal aspects of putting together a transaction. And the second one was around the financial part. And those were, again, equally thick tomes with a lot of richness and detail about how to value businesses and going through all the financial mechanics of it. But what I didn't see was a book that was written for CEOs, really targeting how do we go through this? And so I'm thinking about growing my business. How do I even get started? And what are the tools that can help me along the way? So the book is all about the process for thinking about M&A. I really didn't hold back. I put everything in there in terms of how to go about thinking about growth and how to actually go about doing it. And so a lot of my passion is really written in this book to help CEOs to hopefully give them some ideas about how they might grow their businesses. If you're the owner of a company or a CEO or a senior executive, and you're passionate about growing your company and looking for perhaps some new ways to think about growing your business, I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to start the conversation to hear more about how you got to where you are. But even more importantly, what I'd love to start the conversation with you about is where is it that you'd like to take your company? What my experience has been is it's not about lack of opportunities for companies. It's about lack of focus. And so perhaps Capstone can be the right partner with you to help you take your company to the next level.